Osmic, welcome to Marvin. It's an honor to have you here, man, and speak to our audience.
Yes, sir.
So I think maybe as a start, let's tell the people who Osmic is, you know, where you started and where you are right now.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, brother. Yo, man, like I'm just a kid from deep Soweto, from Kotladi, that's in Soweto.
Okay.
For those that don't know where that is, that's in South Africa, the south of Africa on the continent. I'm just a guy very passionate about, I think, being black. I'm passionate about our continent, passionate about our country, passionate about communities, passionate about school, you know, and I just happen to be in this line of work called entertainment, and specifically into, I think, this new phenomenon called hip hop.
Okay.
That's who I am.
Our readers want to know is, you know, the business that Osmic is running,
Yeah.
you know, the name of that business.
Yeah.
If you're not a one-man show, who are the owners around it?
Sure.
And more about that.
Okay, well, I run a company called Ritual Media Group, RMG. The work we've been doing is for the last 16 to 17 years, started in high school. Okay. With a magazine, had a hip hop magazine. I think I was in standard 7, standard 8, somewhere there. Okay. You know, started a little studio in my bedroom. I would record guys, and guys would pay. And after high school, the first thing I did was we opened an office space, and it was called Ritual Media. The idea was graphic designing and graffiti, because obviously I was a graffiti artist since then. Yeah. And got lucky enough to land a dope Sprite account, and with some of that money I was able to open a retail outlet I think I was 19 years, called Ritual Stores, and with that store it sort of became a pinnacle thing in the culture, because nothing like it existed at the time, and that sort of spawned a club. So I had a club. It spawned a festival, it spawned awards, it spawned a museum, it's spawned TV shows, it spawned radio shows, so that's, some of the work that I've sort of done for some time.
Okay. And then you speak about a magazine.
Yeah.
How did that go? Where is the magazine? I haven't read it myself.
So I think the magazine was, like I say, around high school times.
Okay.
It was called Ritual Magazine, so it was a hip hop magazine. Mm-hmm. At that time there was like 7 of us who were doing this magazine, and you know how it goes, we're young and we're not really business savvy. So from 7 it ends up with 3 people, from 3 people it ends up with 1 person, and that's actually where the word ritual comes from that, when we're doing this magazine. Mm-hmm. And I carried on this ritual because it sort of represented a lot of the things I was doing, because it's like hip hop to me, or the things that I do, they become a ritual. So it's not like when I wake up, I don't wake up and then I put my hip hop clothes on, or I put my hip hop attitude on. Okay. I wake up and I sleep and I eat and I breathe this culture, and it has become a ritual to me. So the magazine, I think we could only last an issue, but the beauty about it, literally 1 issue. Okay. But it was amazing, because the people that were on that magazine, some of them, and I think the magazine was almost a tastemaker, because a lot of the guys became prolific. So like Squatter Camp was on that issue. This is before Squatter Camp was Squatter Camp. Yeah. Emphatic Tabs was on that. So there was a lot of interesting characters in that magazine that have grown to become big brands on their own. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing was, years later, a magazine like Hype magazine happened.
That was very popular magazine.
So this was very big, and it was I really liked it, and I was very inspired when that happened.
I also liked it, yes. I read it a lot.
Because at the time, no one ever thought the culture could produce something like that. Because remember, when we were doing it, it was very niche. We were at Gandhi Square. It was very Johannesburg centered, So yeah, that's what happened to that magazine. But it was fun times.
We want to know about the business aspect.
Sure.
We know you're a hip hop guy. You know the industry that well. Entertainment is your thing, but we're not really interested in that.
Sure.
That's your skill.
Yeah.
But we want to know about the business itself. how do you generate revenue?
Sure.
When I look at the awards, you know, I kind of think, how does this guy make money? Because he's spending all this money on the production and paying people to dance on the stage and all of that. So give us a background of what happens.
So the beauty about I think what I represent, because a lot of people keep telling me I represent the success stories of the culture of the entertainment world.
Okay.
But the beauty I think about, or what I've been able to figure out, is the business within the culture, or the business within this entertainment thing that we're doing, and in a very creative manner. Because for instance, when the festival started out, not even the festival, the shop. When I first did the shop 13, 14 years ago, no one believed in it, right? Even people within the culture themselves didn't believe in it. And I said, it's a long-term plan, because it's sometimes not about instant monies. It's about what can this thing represent going forward, right? How do you shift the culture? So before, I could be in this position where I could make currency, myself and other people can make currency. Certain sacrifices that have been made, meaning certain grounds have had to be laid. So just like in the 80s and the early 90s, people like your POCs and your Khokhas and Emil, Black Noise, laid out a foundation of sorts for people such as myself to exist. That's what we needed to do. We needed now to lay down a new foundation. But now this foundation is, how do you find currency within this thing, right? And one of them was this shop, because what the shop started doing is that it started bringing out clothing labels, right? So
were these owned by you, or were
these were independent
people
guys
that
right?
were coming in and
I was
selling
the
their
link.
designs?
Sure.
Okay.
So I was the link. So I was the bridge between the market, or slash the consumer, and the business, right? So a person comes and says, I've got a CD, but I don't have a way to reach my audience or my customer, right? So I now think of me as a shopping mall, right? So my space already has feet, right? Because at the time I'm on radio, I'm on TV, I've got all these things, and I keep promoting this thing. Everyone knows Ritual Stores. Now, the minute someone like for instance, a Squatter Camp, or at the time, I'm trying to think the popular artist at that time, like a Pro Kid, rest in peace. The minute he now has his product in the store, and he starts saying, get my album exclusively at Ritual Stores. Because remember, we're also talking about an era where there were not a lot of retailers entertaining hip hop. Right?
Exactly.
What that means is that I was able to corner a market. That's exactly what I did. I was at a corner store and I cornered a market. And what that meant was that it became easier for people. If you wanted that sneaker, that exclusive Adidas, you knew where to get it. If you heard some hip hop guy has an album, you knew where that album is coming from. If you wanted a graffiti mural, you knew where to come. If you wanted to book an artist, you knew where to come to, because we've got them.
So the question is, did this happen naturally, or did you have this big idea of how it's going to unfold? You know.
So I always I do these talks in schools, and I always preach about this thing called purpose, right? So I was fortunate enough to realize my purpose when I was literally in Standard 5.
Okay,
right?
great.
In Standard 5, I knew what my purpose was. So every little thing that I do is designed. So I knew in X amount of time I'll be where I am right now because it was designed that way. Right? And every single step and every single move that I made had to have been in this lane. You know, people like to say words like "stay in your lane." I made sure that I crafted my lane and I stayed in it. So you created
your own lane and ran on it.
And I ran on it because the minute I make my own lane, I understand the pitfalls of it. So I know where is a pothole, I know where is a what. So
everything.
So I sort of, you know what I'm saying, can gauge all these things, right? And that's what it was about at that time. It was about how do you make the store to gain attraction. And then from there, because you've got the artists and you've got the labels, and you've got the market and you've got the popularity, how do you now expand it into, because now the consumers are getting more and more and more, right? But now, how do you cater to those people, right? In large scale. It's a festival. That's the only way.
Okay, so that's
right?
That's where the festival was born.
That's where the festival was born. But if you think about it, the store was born from the magazine. Because if you think of a magazine is a gateway between the business. It's an outlet as well. It's between the business and the consumer.
Yes.
You say, I'm so-and-so, I sell this, I put it on the magazine. When the consumer picks up, they read this information and they're able to get you, right? So a magazine transforms into this retail store, which is still serving the same purpose. And then the retail store now reaches its peak, it transforms into a festival, because now you're talking large numbers, right? But that happens once a year. But now how do you keep that momentum going? You do a club, right? So you've got a club where once a week or 3 times a week, people can come launch their albums, these things can happen.
And
you must understand, in all of these things, the business is, the money is coming from the consumer because they're large scale. So the minute you start scaling, there's more money to play around with, right? And the minute you've got the numbers, it means you've got demand. The minute you have demand, what does that mean? That means you've got attention. Attention from who? Attention from corporates. Because corporates go, snap, these guys have this market that we're looking to penetrate. Who has that market? Me.
Osmic.
Right? That's it. Me, I've got the market. And they come in and say, okay, cool, we want to activate our brand. So Power Play says, I want to activate my brand to you. Or I want to speak to your consumers, because I feel that my consumers are the ones that should be consuming my product, right? And that's currency to me. So that's where now the money comes in now.